The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
We're back this week on the BDE. That stands for the Bill DeMott Experience here on the Realm Network. I always say that to everybody out there on iTunes. I make the funny face. That's for my boy Mark and for Vince Russo here on the brand. And before we get started, let me hit my friends up at Amazon. The holiday season is where you can get everything you need. And how you can support this free show is you go on BillDemottExperience.com. Click on that yellow button. It takes you to Amazon. That lets Amazon know you're a fan of the show and you're watching, and it lets Amazon know that people are paying attention to what we're saying here on the BDE. So it supports the show. We support Amazon. And we're talking about Amazon right away, right out of the gate, because my next guest, the current book that's out right now for Ripley's Believe It or Not, is Eyepopping Oddities. Did I say that right, Mr. Meyer?
Bill, you said that perfect. Please call me Edward.
Okay, and my guest is, and I'll do that, thank you. My guest is Edward Meyer, the VP of Exhibits and Archives for Ripley's Believe It or Not. And we're going to be talking about the book, and I'm going to put it up here now first. It's a thick book, hours of reading. I fancy myself, Edward, as my career before. I've traveled the world, and I've met some cool people, and we go around the Build My Experience, having some great conversations and sharing them on YouTube. And then you send me the book. By the way, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I start reading this story.
Cool people that you've met.
I thought I met, I've been to every country and I've been through every state and I've seen the big ball of yarn. I'm thinking, well, a kid from New Jersey, that's not bad. And then I get the book and I start catching up and I'm going, whoa. So before we get started, how did you get involved in this? How did it come to Ripley's? And 35 years was not just like, let me decide to do this. You've been at this a long time.
Yeah, actually 35 is old frame too. I'm now closing in on 38 to be honest. And a good question, and we have some time, so I'll give the background. I went to university to be a librarian. And I took a job advertised by a company named Ripley International to catalog cartoons.
Cartoons?
No mention of the words "believe it or not." So I really didn't know what I was even, signing up for. But just thought, as a library student, getting in ground surface as a cataloger, made some sense, and this sounded like a good summer job.
Right. So
I answered the ad, talking on the phone. They said, can you come for an interview right now? And I said, well, I'm still at the University of Toronto. I'm not really dressed for an interview sort of thing. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. Get on the subway. We're only 5 minutes away. Come on down. So I did that. I had what I would say is one of the world's shortest interviews and was hired virtually on the spot and started work the next day. And now 3 countries later, 5 offices later, I'm still here 38 years later, still involved with the cartoon, which is the foundation of it's all based on little drawings that Robert Ripley himself did for the newspaper.
Right.
But today I'm involved in our book program. My primary responsibility is buying the exhibits that are in our auditoriums. A little bit of a jack of all trades. I've been here long enough that I'm involved on around here.
And so you've seen it from the ground up, and I know of the one based out of Florida here. I know there's a Ripley's Believe It or Not in Orlando, but where else can we find that?
Well, there's 32, and we call them auditoriums, ODD, as opposed to museums.
Okay.
Playing on the word. There's 32 of them in 10 countries. 4 of them are here in Florida City Beach up in the Panhandle, St. Augustine, Florida, which is our original, very first one, next week celebrating its 65th anniversary. Wow. So St. Augustine's been real good to us. Orlando, and then at the far end, Key West. So 4 right here within a day's drive of each other.
Wow. So did you ever think it would get, I mean, I'm going to ask because I just find this, and I want to get to a couple of stories in the book in a minute, but you went for a short interview. So you know, as you go through it, I'm wondering the mindset as you get set for heading towards being a librarian and now having one of the coolest jobs I can imagine.
Basically, you're not the first person to tell me I've got the coolest job in the world, but no, I would have never imagined that. For like the first 7 years that I was at Ripley's, I was very much a librarian. I was taking care of paper and the company's history. It was through attrition and basically just personal interest that I got involved in the museum line and started buying exhibits. And in 1985, the ownership of the company changed, and the new owner basically, you know, one of the first things out of his mouth was saying, why don't you guys franchise? At that time, we only had 8 auditoriums. And we said, well, you know, it's election, but it's still finite. The things that Robert Ripley personally collected in his travels in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. And the new ownership said, well, why can't you just continue to buy stuff? And, you know, we had not been of that mindset. And you know, you're the guy to go out and buy stuff. And so we've grown from 8 to 32 locations. So I guess I've been buying a fair bit of stuff over the years. And the company drastically has changed, including the country we're in. We're a Canadian-owned company. And I started in Toronto, Ontario. I would have never imagined I was going to end up living in Florida.
And seeing the world.
Fairly well traveled. We call Robert Ripley the modern Marco Polo. He went to 201 countries in his lifetime. I'm only at about 50, so a long way to go still.
Now, have you seen a lot of the things that are in the book? Have you actually witnessed some of the things that have happened? Like the one that stands out for me in China is the man who hooked his nose.
Well, I've seen some of it. Typically, my connection really with the book is the art chapter, things that I can physically purchase to put in our museums as well as put it into our books. A guy with things in his nose, no, I have not seen that, but I've seen a guy pull a fire truck with his penis.
Oh,
I've seen a guy pull an airplane with his hair, and I've seen a gentleman named Reverend Kevin Fast pull just about everything you can imagine with a harness around his shoulders. Little short guy. He's only 5'4", but almost 280 pounds of pure muscle, and he is Canada's strongest man. I think he's ranked like 3rd or 4th in the world. Man. He has moved entire houses for Habitat for Humanity. Hooks himself to a house and pulls the house down the street to where they want to put it up.
Really?
One of the most amazing people I've ever met.
That's got to, and I imagine just putting all the facts into the book. And I remember Ripley's a few years back had the television show as well.
Yes, very involved in our last 3 television series. We had Jack Palance as our host on ABC back in the 80s, which was very, very popular.
Yes, sir.
At that point, I was a research consultant. Then in the 90s, we had a Saturday morning animated feature, which I was actually one of the characters for, the research assistant to Mr. Ripley. And then most recently, we had a series on TBS with Dean Cain. Yes. I was both involved in the research, consultant, and then in the final series, I actually had my own segment on that show. I did things with stupid pet tricks, basically.
But I imagine with all the research and in the auditoriums, there's a lot of time and money invested in it. These aren't just little things that you can pick up. These are important artifacts, right?
Well, we you know, the beauty of Ripley's, believe it or not, is that we have something for everybody.
Right. Under
all categories: art, history, geography, sports, etc. But typically the price range can be from free donations to a couple $1 million and everything in between. One of the most recent things we've just acquired, and it just arrived in our warehouse here in Orlando this morning, very large sculptures over 10 feet tall, made from cutlery, spoons, knives, and forks. Gentleman that created them, his name's Eric Shroop. He's from High Springs, Florida, which is up near Gainesville.
Right.
But absolutely gorgeous, fine art, but made from a strange medium. Typically, the art we're buying, we want it to look good, but it's what it's made out of that makes it a believe it or not, worthy of a Ripley Auditorium or a book like our Eye-Popping Oddities. But I've bought Fabergé eggs. I've bought meteorites from Mars. I've bought several cars in my lifetime, a couple boats, all unusual, something a little bit different to catch our attention.
Now, so the word unusual, because I'd imagine, and I say that because the word unusual has a different interpretation for everyone. So do you get a lot of people who just think something's really, has anybody tried to sneak one past you?
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not a big part of our lives. I get asked that question, but people generally, want their 15 minutes of fame. They're not out to fool us. They want to be in Ripley's,
right,
and get a little bit of fame. Typically what happens, and genuine human shrunken heads is probably the best example, because Ripley's, it's an iconic item within our collection. We have the biggest collection of them in the world, and I'm #1 authority on them in the world.
Right. Well, it's just, I'm just fascinated, and I spent a lot of time with my daughter.
RussoBrand.com to sign up for exclusive VIP content. For just $4.95 a month, you get over 20 new video shows monthly, including Vixens Who Rule, The Swerve, and Shoot to Thrill, where Vince Russo interviews stars in wrestling and beyond. Listen to Vince and Jeff Lane discuss weekly news and rumors and review current and Attitude Era Raws. Also, watch the cult hit Bucket Full of Chicken Necks. Go to VinceRussoBrand.com and click the red subscribe button to join now.
But I'm talking with Edward Meyer, the VP of the exhibits and archives for Ripley's, believe it or not, and so everybody's watching, listening on iTunes. I'm going to try to catch back up with Mr. Meyer, but you go to Amazon. Go to Amazon.com from the DeMott experience, and you can pick up Ripley's, believe it or not, Eye-Popping Oddities, and it's just fascinating. There we are. Are we back, Mr. Meyer?
We are. I can hear you loud and clear again.
There we go. I apologize for the sometimes the internet connection is what we get around here.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if it was me or you, but I'm helpless. So I didn't know what.
There you go. Well, I apologize. I was catching the fans up on what we were talking about. So, I'm just fascinated by the world. So you're the foremost expert on human shrunken heads.
Yeah, I was saying, so people aren't literally trying to fool me, but they may have been fooled.
Right.
So they come to us thinking they've got a real one, and I've got to break their heart and say, sorry, it's monkey or goat as opposed to human, and then walk them through why it's only worth $5 instead of $5,000.
Right. What's so if off the top?
Generally, people are not trying to fool us. They want to be famous. They want to be in Ripley's for the glory of it.
Yeah, I'd imagine. And now I'm going to be looking through. I'm going to be looking through my stuff and contacting you on the side and going, "Hey, guess what I got?" And I actually have nothing, but I think it's the coolest thing ever.
That comic behind you, that looks pretty cool.
Elvis and I.
No, I'm looking at the Superman comic, but
yeah, that my son gave me that for my birthday, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go through my stuff and see what we have. What, off the top of your head, of all your years, and I know this is a broad question, what is the coolest? That's my word. The coolest story that you brought to the public eye in the books or whether it's in the auditoriums? What's the really coolest thing, even from when you started? What would be the number one thing that stands out for you?
All right. Well, I'm going to give you two.
Okay.
As we said before, everybody's version of unusual is a little different. So
Right.
your version of cool probably came. So man-made versus Mother Nature, little versus big.
Okay.
And I'll let you decide which is the better of the two.
Okay.
So man-made, the smallest things we've ever bought. A gentleman named Willard Wiggins, who lives in Birmingham, England, carves sculptures that are perfect likenesses inside the eye of a needle and or on the head of a pin. Okay? They need to be magnified at least 4,000 times to even see them. And they're perfect replicas. I mean, he's done, Betty Boop was the first one I've seen, that made me want to go discover this guy. You can count her eyelashes. She's got an actual pearl necklace, real pearls that are, microscopic. The red dress, the buckles on the shoe, no mistaking it. It's Betty Boop in
Really?
the eye of an eagle. So that is probably, Willard Wiggins is probably my all-time favorite person and man-made thing that I've bought.
Okay.
On the other end of the scale, one of the biggest things I've ever bought, total freak of Mother Nature, prank of nature, African elephant, full-grown African elephant with two trunks. So one trunk over top of the other, that from looking straight on, you wouldn't even know it had two trunks, not side by side, but over top of each other. Each trunk is about 5.5 feet long and about 30 inches around. So they're not little stubs, they're not misformed. It's perfect two full African elephant trunks.
Unbelievable.
Totally, functional too. I mean, you could spray the water out of both of them.
Really?
Yeah, it's animal oddities are a big part of Ripley's, believe it or not. We have hundreds in our collection, but most are domestic animals. Cows, pigs, rabbits, that when they're born, the farmer's there and can report the birth. A two-headed cow was born on my farm last night. But we don't have very many wild animal oddities of any sort, and nothing to compare with an elephant. That is a true one-of-a-kind freak of nature.
Amazing. That is amazing. Now, are both of those things you talked about, are they on display at any of the auditoriums?
They are. The elephant head is in New York City, and several of our Betty Boop items are in various, several of our Willard Wiggins items. The Betty Boop isn't on display, but several of the Willard Wiggins items. We have some in Niagara Falls, some in New York City, some in Hollywood, some in Baltimore, and we're about to put some in London, England.
Amazing. Just great. Is there anything you'd like to tell the people out there listening about the book? What stands out? I mean, I'm telling everyone straight away, I've got hours left of reading to do, and I'm fascinated by it. But is there anything you'd like to point out to everybody, and what else can they be expecting from Ripley's in the future?
All right. Well, it's our 12th annual. This is our premium product. We do other books, coloring books, small science books, a line of books with Scholastic that aren't even available in stores, just sold directly through the schools. But Eyepopping Oddities is our premium product, 256 pages, oversized, hardcover, coffee table type format, 1,000 stories, over 500 photographs. So it's a very, very visual book.
Yes.
And it's all new material. Even the stories that are old stories, happened in the 1800s or 1920s, we've never published them before. Every single story in here is brand new and most of it is very current, 2014, 2015, that I kind of call it the best of the weirdest stuff we could find in the calendar year prior to our publishing it, because it takes a bit of time to do the design and the writing, etc. So most of it is from 2014, but it's it's a fabulous book. my very favorite photo in the whole book, and you've got one there in front of you, you want to look at it, page 22 and 23. It's a photo from the 1930s of an animal trainer whose nickname is Cheerful. So I think that's hilarious right off the top. But he's trained his elephant to pick him up by his head in its mouth without hurting him.
I'm looking at it right now.
I love that photograph.
That is for anybody on iTunes. You can't see this picture, but it's a human pendulum. The man is picked up in an elephant's head.
Yeah, and you can see the circus wagon behind it. This is a full-size elephant. The utter danger that this guy's putting his life into, is testimony to how well he has trained this animal and the faith he has that he can do this without getting injured. Now, again, on the opposite end of the spectrum, way down the bottom of the book, page 245, kind of my seasonal picture, got a Santa Claus who is 94% of his body is tattooed. This is not a Santa Claus I want to see at my local mall, but facially and hair-wise, he looks just like Santa, every inch of his body with colorful tattoos, some of them Christmas-oriented. So there's
I'm looking at that right now,
little story.
Yeah, I'd imagine if he didn't have his Santa outfit on, he wouldn't be ringing the bell outside of a Walmart anytime soon.
Likely. Body modification is a growing popular subject, worldwide as well as just at Ripley's. But we got 3 or 4 stories in this book of people that got some pretty strange tattoos. A young girl, another Christmassy sort of story on page 235, who has sharpened her ears so that she looks like an elf.
I did see that.
She thinks that she's going to be reincarnated as an elf, and basically looks like a cute little girl, but I'm not sure why anybody would do that to themselves.
No, it's the same as I was going through the book, and I saw the gentleman, and I think he's up Canada way, who tattooed the words on his face and his head, and he took the words from popular songs as he went through YouTube and searched the most popular words.
Yeah, you can literally read him. He's got his entire body with writing all over it. And there's another guy that's got a hole in his cheek.
I saw that.
You can see through that. That to me is the most, eye-popping, shocking photo in the book. That one I just, even at Ripley's, we can say, but why once in a while, why would anyone go to that extreme body modification? Yeah,
that surpasses any 15 minutes of fame, because a lot of the things that are in this book, and we've talked about just now, are life.
Take the tattoos off.
You're not going to wash that off after you make the publication. So it's just an amazing book, and I can't thank you so much for spending some time with us today and sharing your story. Just a really amazing. Everybody who gets an opportunity out there, get to a Ripley's auditorium, and again to talk about this book, the latest book, and a great addition to everything that Ripley's has out there. Go to Amazon. You can get all those books, past and now present. But Eyepopping Oddities is out there now, and my guest Edward Meyer. I can't thank you enough. I'm gonna be prepared to see something from me, because I'm gonna try to get into one of these books. I'm not sure how, but I'm gonna try to figure it out.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time with us today. And Eyepopping Oddities is available wherever books are sold. Makes a great Christmas gift. Multi-generational. My grandparents read Ripley's, and my kids do too. So, something for everybody. Perfect Christmas gift.
Absolutely right. Well, Mr. Meyer, I can't thank you enough. Happy holidays, and I hope to see you around Florida sometime. I'm going to be passing through.
I'm in Orlando anytime. Come and see us.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Everybody on the BDE, please make sure you got some time, especially during the holiday season when you're in the Orlando area. Go right down to International Drive in that area. Ripley's, believe it or not, you can't miss it. It's some great stuff. pick up the book. I'm telling you right now, my friends at Amazon got it waiting for you. Just an amazing story, a nice way to start off the month of December here on the BDE. Again, Eyepopping Oddities. My guest was Edward Meyer. You can check it out. Watch everything Ripley's. It's fascinating stuff, and it's entertainment, but some of the stuff is unbelievable. That's it for this week with Bill DeMott. I'm Bill DeMott. This is the Bill DeMott Experience. Do what you say what you mean what you do. I'm out.
The preceding presentation was brought to you by the Realm Network.